The Hanglishpa writing system. Why? The Latin-based alphabet used to represent English isn't well suited for the task. Spelling becomes onerous, homographs abound, up to 20% of the population struggles with reading and writing due to dyslexia. Not that dyslexia isn't just as prevalent in Korea, but it affects their ability to read and write less than in Latin-based alphabet countries. And teachers spend entirely too much time having to teach syllables. In Hanglishpa, they'd already be boxed. Consonant digraphs, they don't exist. And funky spellings, they're out of here. Hanglishpa is based on Hangeul, the writing system for the Korean language. Hangeul shows the relationship between voiced and unvoiced consonants by adding a line over the top of the unvoiced consonant. For the most part, this pattern will continue. So, with unabashed theft, here is my proposal for the new English alphabet, Hanglishpa. Okay, so my handwriting isn't the best, but for those of you familiar with Hangul, you'll see lots of familiar letters. Feel free to try to cipher the remaining letters before proceeding if you'd like. Just like in Hangul, these are combined in syllable boxes. Here I've provided you an example. It says, just like in Hangul, these are combined in syllable boxes. Let's go ahead and break this down. English has 22 consonant sounds. In the first line, I have boxed the consonant pairs, the capital letter being the voiced consonant and the lowercase being the unvoiced consonant. On the second line are those consonants, whether voiced or unvoiced, that do not have a matching pair. We'll get back to W and Y later. There are 13 consonants in Hangul that are similar in English. Here I show you the current English letter and its current Hangul equivalent. The B kind of looks like our lowercase b, but with a little thing sticking up. P might even remind you of the Greek letter pi, if you stretched it a bit. But after that, they are just different. The shapes for G, K, J, CH, D, T, M, and S will be kept as is. And here are the changes for those previous letters. B loses the internal mark. P looks like B with a tick mark over the top. H loses its hat. N rotates. And the ing letter, new to English, is the N plus the G combined. Here are other letters that have no Hangul equivalent, except L and R, which I've put here just so you can see them. You'll notice that the VF and the TH pair continue with the diacritic mark on the unvoiced consonant. However, for ZH, SH, and Z, the diacritic goes on the voiced consonant. Call it a quirk. Every language has to have at least one. And here are all your consonants. And now the vowels. In English, there are about 15 vowel sounds, depending on your dialect. The chart on the right comes from a website, and it's titled English Phonemes by Commonness. I use this to help me determine some of the order of precedence. More frequent the vowel appears, the easier it should be to write. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the International Phonetic Alphabet's vowel sounds, here's a couple of examples in ranked order. So the order, the International Phonetic Alphabet's symbols, the American Dictionary symbols that you may see or that I'm familiar with, and some examples of the words. On the next slide, we'll have these same first three columns, and then the example words will be traded out for the letters in Hanglishpa. Take a minute and look. Here you go. What do you think? Yes, some of them are the same as Hangeul, but most of them are not. Maybe you noticed that generally the matching long vowel is the short vowel with an added parallel long line. I also tried to make those vowels formed at the front of the mouth vertical and those at the back of the mouth horizontal. Don't worry if you don't use all 15 vowels. As an American, I never use number 15. And now W and Y, which aren't actually consonants even if we're told so. They're called semivowels. To create these, I went ahead and put them with the vowels. To create a W, add a perpendicular long line to the primary vowel symbol. To create a Y, add a short, small line in the same direction as the other small line on the letter, except if that letter doesn't have a short, small line, in which case you can add a small loop. Where you add the small loop doesn't matter. Up, down, forward, backwards, not important. You'll notice that Korean, Hangeul, does this with their Y sounds also. And because W and Y are somewhat unique sounds, I have included them in the alphabet and provided symbols for them. Here you can see what I mean by adding a small loop or a short line for Y and adding a long perpendicular line for W, keeping in mind that the small loop is also used to differentiate the W sound from the W sound. And these are the vowels with their Y and W combinations. One thing Hangeul doesn't handle well is consonant blends. In order to facilitate ease of writing and space considerations, the following letter blends are included. S is often reduced to a slash at the beginning of a blend or an end. L becomes a straight tail, and R is depicted like an attached comma. Finally, any diacritics may be reduced to a dot. Here are those consonant blends drawn out for you and what they might look like. And that X, what shall we do with you? It's true, you could write it as KS. But when we get to words ending in XT or XTS, next, texts, we end up with 3 or 4 sounds in the foot, and that becomes obnoxious to write. So like before, the S is reduced to a slash, which is placed adjacent to the diagonal line in K, as depicted on the screen. X is not included in the alphabet. The C in English is the S sound or K sound, depending on which one it makes for that word. We replace this with the CH sound, said like che. NG is pronounced ing, SH, she. The voiced TH, the, and the unvoiced TH, they. All vowels are pronounced by the sound they make. W, instead of being such a long thing, is now just said we. Y is yay. Finally, the new ZH is pronounced as ju. And here are the consonants grouped by how you pronounce them. In the first set, those that add the E sound, then those that add the A sound. Next, those that have the sound that precede them. And finally, the group of others that just don't follow the previous 3 rules. And here is the Hanglishpa writing system again with the English equivalents. Did you guess any of them right? Some additional notes for writing Hanglishpa. Unlike Hangeul, this system has no initial placeholder for words beginning with vowels. For example, in would be written like so. The diacritics may be written flat, slanted, or as a dot. depending on your particular style and the space provided in the word. Letters can be flattened or stretched horizontally or vertically, as needed within the letter block so long as they maintain their general shape. When it comes to vowels, if you aren't sure, choose the one that sounds closest with the higher rank. And finally, thank you to these websites for providing some of the resources I needed to create the Hanglishpa alphabet. Hope you enjoyed.